Hello humans, I'm Batsy, and today we going to boop the Ender Dragoon, do the final touches to the fishing farm, and maybe even decorate it. This time, not much happened between episodes. I was finally able to finish digging the perimeter, which is exciting because it means I can start planning the terraforming. I also had this running in the background, and it honestly surpassed my expectations. This is the look of about 40 hours of the farm being active over a few days. It has honestly blown my mind, especially because this was meant as a bad bone meal farm. Look at all of these chests, this is crazy. I could probably open some of them, and see how good the drops are. At least I will be opening the good ones. I think those had chances for emeralds and stuff. I wasn't expecting this many boxes, otherwise, I would have made some extra machines to process those too. The gold has surprised me too, this is just with the goldfishes alone. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's free gold pretty much. This has been such a silly project. Oh yeah, I finally changed the signs to be color-coded. I was wondering why the game was lagging a bit. I always forget when I cap it to go AFK. So yes, I changed them at the end, and I think they look super cool. It's such a small detail, but it changed the workstation so much. I'm really happy with it. I also went ahead and crafted a bajillion blocks. I went out to farm for dyes, and I thought I could as well just fill up the main barrels. It makes the storage room feel more complete. Yeah, I think that's all I did between episodes. So let's just go open some boxes, shall we? Oh wow, I completely forgot this would give me diamonds. This is actually pretty good, especially considering the boxes I have left. 13 diamonds, this is crazy. I wasn't expecting this many boxes, and I wasn't expecting diamonds either. I know I tested the loot from it, but to be honest, I thought I was barely gonna get any boxes, so I paid very little attention to it. This is absolutely crazy. Absolutely mental. Emeralds, sure, that's not a particularly high amount, not when considering a raid farm, or the prices of vendors. Gold is great though, again, it's pretty much free gold. Iron, maybe a bit low too, at least compared to the cost of things. And obviously the diamonds. This is insane, I wasn't expecting this at all. To remind the humans, in my mind, this was going to be a funny but also useless bone meal farm, just for the sake of making a silly episode. I didn't think I was going to revolutionize the diamond market. My idea with the last chest is to find out if I can automate the opening of boxes. It's just a right click, I imagine a deployer might be able to. The depot needs to be gone. And I think I'm going to try in attack mode. Let's see what happens. Nothing happens. What about in use? It just stops. Wait, it stops, yes. Because the deployer is full, and it can't open another box. Let's extract the items with a hopper. Then filter the boxes so they stay in the deployer. And try again. Yes, it's opening them all. Okay, this is quite easy then, just need to recreate the same down there. I think it's just a matter of adding a couple of things down here, it shouldn't be too complicated, I don't think. A stack and 38 diamonds in total, absolutely hilarious. Going to leave this here for the time being, to remember this is from the chests. Now, how do I want to do this? I think my best bet is to open the chests first, and see what drops from the other ones. Maybe 3 of them is enough to get the idea. Make it 4, just in case. I'm going to try the lockboxes first, I think those were good for gold. I see quartz already, that's pretty good. Okay, that's not too bad. Iron, redstone, gold and quartz. I'm happy with that. Going to open everything else just to be fully sure that there is no more loot from it. Alright, that should be all. Let's organize this a little bit. It seems like 12 drops in total. The compass is obviously fantastic, this gives us iron with a chance of redstone. The clock is also really good. It gives gold and more redstone. Golden apples just feel silly to me, I don't even know why this is here. It might become my food from now on. This is really good though, especially when considering how many of these boxes are down there. Going to drop it here too, we'll use it to make filters later on. Now for the worst one, this is the one I'm scared about. Yes, you can see it already, it's pure random in here. And I'm already spitting blocks. Oh dear me. Look at this mess. This is going to be rough, it's so much random junk. Okay, that's all of the boxes I had, what an absolute mess. The loot is honestly not bad, the problem is how many options are in here. I'm noticing that there are many woods in here, but not all of them, which makes me think that I'm still missing more blocks from the loot. I'm going to take a bunch more of them, hopefully, that's enough to see them all. Alright, this should be the last one, and hopefully, it should be everything from the loot table. Like I said before, the loot is actually not that bad, this is all useful stuff, just not in the quantities that you would normally need them to be. There are most of the wood types in here, which is pretty funny. There is even coal, and a bunch of random stones. I need to process this for sure, at least the leather gear. Without the stack upgrades, those things use way too much space. I might honestly have a couple of chests to store all of this, otherwise, I'm going to be placing 1,000 barrels in there, and most of those quantities aren't even that great to justify a whole barrel. Before getting into that, we had a server event to go hunt the Ender Dragoon, and I made a fun little cinematic of the whole thing. Wow, that was quite the cinematic. Let me tell you, I laughed so much as I was editing that, I was actually crying. That was a really fun edit to do, and I hope the humans enjoyed the silliness of it. But if you want to watch the full thing, and more shenanigans like that, you should go check Happy Aviala on Twitch. There you can find the VOD of the whole thing, or tune in for her weekly Monday streams in the server. She also streams variety games on Sundays, so do make sure to go give her some love. And if watching isn't enough for you, you can also join the server and participate in these community events. By becoming a Ko-Fi Tier 2 Fung or above, you will get access to my SMP and future servers to come. I also post sneak peeks of the projects I'm working on, and sometimes also personal updates on my real-life shenanigans. All links will be in the description below. Now back to the video. You might have noticed that when we went to the Stronghold, we were in someone's base. That's because the Stronghold is right underneath them, and they took the chance to decorate it all up. Because there was barely any time to see it during the schematic, I wanted to come here and check out the base in more detail. This base is from one of my supporters called Water Guy, and to be honest, it's a really amazing build. I'm always a fan of stone-based builds, but I also love how they worked around the terrain. You know me, I'm a big fan of sea stuff and islands, so this base is right up my alley. The tower is pretty well done too, it really gives some cool wizard vibes. And the house itself, I think this build is really nice. I love the details, and I love the color palette of it. The design, it's not too intricate or overdone, but it's just the right amount in my opinion. It looks good, without needing to add 1,000 little bits and bobs, really nicely done. They made a neat little elevator to access the depths of the Stronghold, which I thought was a cool detail. I tend to forget these things exist in the Create mod. Underneath here, they also went for a simple design, but also the right amount of texturing and detailing. I really like it all. I think it's a very cool build altogether. We sadly broke the door when we came here. A creeper spawned inside the portal room, and it blew up as I was trying to kill it. I believe my mistake was to hide behind the door as the creeper was activated. I believe the contraption didn't break the line of sight for the creeper. But anyway, the portal room itself looks really cool too. An impressive job considering how little time they had to build all of this. I gave a golden coin to everyone that participated in the Ender fight, and even though Water Guy wasn't here at the time, they put the effort to build all of this, so they deserve a coin too. I had recorded the entire process of me processing a couple of the things from the treasure chests, and also adding some logistics to store each thing in its own barrel, but I wasn't happy with the recording at all. It was a bit too confusing to follow, especially because I ended up changing many things from it, so instead, I will be showing the end result, and a small little explanation of the steps I made. It's a very simple setup, so this way will be a whole lot better to understand. For now, don't pay too much attention to the decorations. It's a bit hidden underneath all of the machines, so we will be using the free cam mod to check it out. I also came up with a way of preventing myself from using free cam too often. I use it because it's good to check what's going on inside the machines. Sometimes a belt breaks, or I need to check on something that is surrounded by 1,000 other things, and without free cam, it's honestly impossible. But there is always the temptation to use it to check caves and stuff. The line between useful tool and a bit cheaty is rather thin. So I thought, if I lower the speed of the cam to be rather slow, it's so inconvenient to use now, that it makes me only want to use it when I really have to. It's a bit random, but I wanted to share that. I thought it was a good way of not removing the mod, but making it a bit less cheaty to use. Anyway, we are here to check on the machines. All of the gold from the golden fishes, and the little junk chests from aquaculture, will end up in this barrel, as they were doing before. So I'm simply extracting them with a chute, and using a framed connector from Tom's disguised as a brass block. Said connector ends up in this small little Tom's network. The first important thing is that the inventory connector block is between the belts above, which is very important. I made special care that the connector isn't touching anything that counts as an inventory, otherwise, it would be connecting the entire processing plant from above, and then things get really messy. From the inventory connector, I'm using a Tom's hopper to extract the gold from this little network, so it skips the next step. On the other side of it, I'm connecting the deployer directly, so it received all of the boxes from aquaculture. That way, the deployer will be opening them all, and depositing the products in the hopper underneath, where it also receives the gold from before. From the hopper, it moves to a chute, which connects it to another Tom network. In here, I also made sure that the inventory connector isn't touching anything from above, mostly making sure that the main block is far away from everything, and that everything else is connected with the cable connectors only. This network has 2 steps. The first one is a couple of crushers, which I'm using for the leather items, while everything else will simply move forward into the barrels. I didn't bother to process this further, and didn't bother to organize it better, to be honest. Mostly because, as you can see, those are very small amounts of too many random items. I don't want to have here a ton of barrels for each thing. I hope that it made a bit of sense on how I used Toms to open the boxes and filter the produces. I'm starting to get used to Toms. It's a neat little mod, even though I still think that storage mods end up becoming too easy. As for the decorations go, I pretty much finished the design. I was going to make a time-lapse out of it, but I got sick again. Yes, I know, I got better barely a couple days ago, and now I'm back to being sick. My immune system is a bit questionable, what can I say? But anyway, I slowly built it during the times that I was feeling better, so I didn't had good enough footage to make a replay. Instead, I want to talk a little bit of what I did, and my thought process for it. I'm really going down the B-dubs path, and trying to pay a lot of attention to the meaning behind his actions. Something that has been clear to me is the tones and the colors. To my understanding, you need to play with the brightness/darkness of the builds, and also, you need to play with the hue and tone of the colors themselves. What does that mean, and what am I doing in that regard? The brightness, it's obvious, you gotta put the bright colors where the sun, or the light source, would hit directly, and naturally make it more bright, while leave the darker colors where the shadows would be. I tried to achieve that by having my brighter oxidized copper on the more exposed parts, while having some dark prismarine more towards the inside of the machine, as well as adding some warped fences and overall darker blocks on the inside. I also added darker tones at the top and the bottom, so it blends better with the build above and the darker background. It's like a transition from the bright center, where the light is hitting directly, slowly into the darker sides of it. Then I added the brass highlights I'm using to make it look more like machinery, but instead of doing the same in the middle, I decided to use the black displays, to break a bit from the copper patterns. That doesn't follow the lighting rule I was talking about, but it made sense to achieve that machinery look, which I think it looks fantastic, especially with the addition of the fancy redstone lamps that show when items move along the belts, and it will be helpful to notice if the system is clogged or not. Something that I'm very pleased with is the bottom part, and this is what I meant about the hue. There are blocks that have similar color and brightness to dark prismarine. For example, there are the warped planks. But those don't have the same hue as dark prismarine, so even if the tone is close enough, it doesn't look as good when combined, unless you're trying to highlight certain areas. Instead, I tried using this Viridium block that create ads, which it's honestly perfect for this. It has pretty much same hue, almost the same tone, and same brightness as dark prismarine, it's just perfect. The other side is pretty much the same, with the exception of the bottom side where I added that cool little texture detail I used before for the nether portal. Then we have this side, which is mainly the 2 big experience tanks, and a couple little details around them to connect things up. And this part here, which I'm not too sure what I'm doing. I left those depots outside because I didn't want it to make it more bulky, and to have easier access to the rod input. And also added these doors so I can actually access the inside in case I need to do anything. But other than that, I'm not too sure about the rest. I like the texturing detail with the structural blocks, that looks neat. I also like the darker blocks behind the cables, it plays on the shadows, and makes it look cool. The way I surrounded the depots I thought was a cool detail too. In short, I kinda like all of the components I used here, it's just the combination of them all that I'm not fully convinced about, maybe too much going on, or maybe the details just don't go properly together. This section I actually think it's super cool. I love how the brass pillar looks as a belt tunnel. And I thought leaving the flashing red lights from the observers was a really cool touch. I don't know, let me know what you think about it. Give me some ideas to make it look more in conjunction, I guess. Right now it feels a bit dissonant, I believe it's the word I'm looking for. But this will be it for this episode, even though I'm sick, I'm trying to make 2 shorter episodes this week. Mostly because I wanted to wrap up this project without just making it an in-between episode thing. And also, I didn't want it to combine the finishing of this farm with the building of the next one all in one episode. Just a matter of branding, it's hard to make a thumbnail and title if too much random stuff is going on in the video, and I generally like to, or try to, make one solid and coherent piece of content for each episode. Anyway, I'm just rambling. Thank you so much for watching, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time.